Most are afraid of unknown depths, skirting shores thinking world flat. And with the island girls in celebration of new religion. Nobody led me or said this way. I sailed alone on makeshift raft with wind as companion. Fate for deliverance, confidence enough to assess new disposition. Seekers of lost paradise may seem fools to those who never sought the other world. Welcome to Momentary Zen with Zen Garcia. Visit www.fallenangels.tv. You're listening to Revolution Radio.
Hello and welcome, friends. Always an honor to be here with all of you and to have this chance, this privilege really, to share the things that I've come to know and the things that I've come to learn over the many decades now of researching, reading, and examining the ancient manuscripts and to see what kind of riddles, what kind of stories, what kind of mythologies they possess, and what kind of revelations they bring forth, and especially in regard to this day, this age, to our being the fig tree generation, that generation which scripturally it is cited that we would be those to witness the unfolding and the completion of all prophecy. So, without a doubt, we are living in intriguing times, to say the least. Increasingly, there is more and more coming forth, which is challenging to people's mindset and disposition for those that have had their heads buried in the sand for a very long time. Well, there is a forced awakening happening, and people are being challenged in manner they never would have ever thought possible previously. And just recently, as we've been covering and as I've been talking about on the show, there is the testimony of David Royce, who is a Pentagon insider and a whistleblower, has knowledge and has seen the reports of extra dimensional realities and scenarios, situations, circumstances which the government and especially the military pilots and even entire battle squadrons, the USS Nimitz and aircraft carriers and entire groups of naval personnel, all being witness to things that cannot be explained. Craft that are able to cut a 90-degree left or 90-degree right turn, which should be, near impossible. Should be impossible according to physics and what we know as far as flight. That the G forces and the pull on whatever the pilot that are maneuvering such craft. It should be, lights out, blackout. And yet these UAPs, unidentified area phenomena, they're able to go in and out of the water like it's not even a difficult transition. And for them to be able to maneuver through the air and then also submerge immediately into the waters and then lift up out and come out of and then streak towards the heavens with no difficulty is challenging, to say the least, to the mindset of military personnel who obviously know and realize that the things they are witness to are not enemy aircraft or even technology which the United States government possesses. And so the question that has been brought to light in congressional hearing when individuals like David Grush are asked point blank by the representatives of the so called elected people of America is, are we alone? And this is the question which has been on the minds of collective humanity for thousands of years, millennial, I think probably since, and not just in regard to extraterrestrial or ancient alien phenomena, but with regard to the supernatural, ghost like entities, the what Paul references as the powers, the principalities, the rulers of darkness and spiritual wickedness in high places. How and when did these things first come about? And so we're gonna look into that. We're gonna talk about those things because many people are now entertaining the thought that there's more to life, more to this world, more to the moment than most realize or can accept, embrace, or even consider. And there's a whole lot more going on than what is being covered in the mainstream news or even in the collective tale of humanity, in the story of who we are, how we are, where we came to be, why all this is the way that it is, which are questions that a lot of people want answers to, especially now that there are people really digging into the larger aspects of who we are as a race, as a people, as a creature here in this world, as a being made, obviously, intelligently, that we are made in the image and the resemblance of something that is greater than ourselves, and that we've been given, blessed with life and existential being, that each moment is new miracle, and that we have been given the blessing of being part of and of sharing with not only our loved ones, our children, our parents, and people that are close to us, sharing this space and this time and the memories that we gather collectively, but also as a world, as a race, as a people, we are experiencing all things together in a way that can be awesome, really. Like the times that people join together in unison to celebrate music or sport or, like the Olympics. I remember when 1996 and I skipped many classes to go and experience the Olympics here in Atlanta while they were accessible to me, because it was something that I wanted to do. But how many times do you really get a chance to go to an event which unites the world in a moment? Especially like, the World Cup, which has been going on lately. As far as the Women's World Cup, it's unfortunate that America was removed from contention, but it's amazing when people can gather together an idea and support things that are peaceful, and that emotionally supercharge us and make us feel, as far as the our nations, we're all supporting our nations and the ones that we live with collectively in whichever part of the plane of the world that we live, which is another thing that we're going to also speak about in some manner this evening. But I'm going to, in talking about the rulers of darkness, in helping people to better understand the reality of the situation, of what we are transitioning into when it comes to disclosure. That now that the whole world has been told and it has been revealed that there is a presence here in the world that is foreign and has been working, lurking, and hiding in the shadows, and that these beings, well, there's been stories about their presence in the world, and it goes back to ancient times that there has been many mythologies which speak about their interaction with the children of humanity, with the daughters of Cain, and how these beings have attempted to rule over, to deceive, and lead humanity astray into worshiping them as gods, and that they have twisted the minds of peoples and cultures and civilizations so that we, or I'm not going to say we because I did not participate and would not, but into offering blood sacrifice, trick parents into offering up their children in cold blooded murder, and that they would even engage in rite and ritual, which would bring, as the Emerald Tablets say, when the blood was offered, and that sacred structures, cyclopean, megalithic, pyramidal type temples aligned to the equinoxes and the solstices and to the movements of the sun and the moon, and super high degree of knowledge and insight, for that to be mixed with abomination, evil, in the sense that the scriptures tell us plainly that it would be better for someone to never have been born than to corrupt or commit an act of evil, or to corrupt the innocence of the children. And this is exactly what the devil demands from his people. I was just recently watching a series about the Roman conquest of Britannia, of the British Isles. And in that, they speak about Rome as being a devil named Laka. Well, it was intriguing to me that when you looked up, and the general that went into the land to conquer the people, that he was possessed by this demon Laka. And he had sacrificed his son to this deity and had married this high priestess in order to gain the power and the authority to be able to pursue this avenue. And looking up that name Laka, Locka, I come to find out that it meant sacrifice. And so intriguing that the individuals that made this series, because they speak about this chosen one who sees the symbol of the cross and comes like Constantine when he conquered his foes and united the Roman Catholic, or the Roman Empire, the East and the West, united them once more under the banner of the cross. That in similarity, this Rome is defeated and brought down by the cross. And so, anyways, this evening and very soon, because I know that already I've been ranting for a while, but I have to set up the show. And it's important for me to discuss the current events. And I wanted to mention just a couple things and then we'll go into this. And I'll check the chat room. But last night I saw a video that Timothy Alberino had put out about these particular deities, these entities, these gray alien extraterrestrial creatures, uh, that they were attacking this village in the Peruvian jungle, and that these beings were said to be 7 foot tall, 7 to 10 foot tall, not like the normal smaller servant type gray aliens that most are used to or haven't have been experienced with or that has been cited in taking and being part of the abduction phenomena, that these little beings come and remove people from their beds and take them on board craft and things of that nature. But these beings are a much larger and much scarier proportion. And what is also very intriguing is that when I was on John the Baptist's show, me and Dr. Joy, just a few weeks back, which I'm supposed to do a follow up this Sunday with Dr. Joy, and I will be on his show Sunday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern. But, anyways, we were talking about what had happened in Las Vegas with the family that had called 911 to report that there was some kind of craft that coming out of the air, it had crashed in their backyard, and that they were witness to two similar entities being 8 to 10 feet tall and dressed in similar fashion as well, that they were wearing these silver mesh type outfits, almost like overall, in that these the things that they were wearing allowed them to meld into their surroundings, and that they, almost like the Predator movie, they would blend into, and the light would bend around them and they would not be seen clearly in the manner that people see others. The United States is said to have similar technology in that there has been, people have experienced this kind of refraction when looking at and seeing camouflaged some kind of, soldier or military personnel, or that whatever they're wearing, it refracts and bends the light around them. So that's exactly what. Hold on, I'm going to take a sip of water. We'll be right back. And so I'm going to read some ancient stories and share with you things that have been reported by others in speaking of the traditions of what we've come to know as the Order of the Dragon, which Vlad the Impaler and his father, they were part of this ancient order. But this goes back even further than that. This is spoken about the division of the sons of the morning and the sons of darkness that we even have in the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's a war scroll that speaks about the sons of light and how they would be at war over 7 generations of time, that each of these ages represents a 1,000 years, as one day is as 1,000 years according to the Lord. And that this 7,000 year duration, this span of 7,000 years, is equal to the Jubilees, 120 50-year cycles, and then what would be the age of what is the Sabbath rest. And so we're going to talk about that and share that and bring that up in order to help people to better make sense of what it is that we are dealing with. And I'm going to also share a very quick passage from an individual named Berosus, who was a Chaldean historian that was hired, or tasked, I should say, by Alexander the Great to write down the history of the ancient times, the ancient worlds, and who ruled over the people of those times. And what is very intriguing about the king's list that came forth from not only Berosus, but we see in the Sumerian tradition that these ancient kings lists, they speak about the reigns of these demigods, and that the first reigns of these kings, the time which they occupied the throne and ruled over their people, and that these reigns were longer than any that had come previously. And also that when you add up the time, said to be the longevity of the reigns of these demigods over time and era, that the equivalent is 420, 30,000 years, which intriguingly, that is also what is reported in the chronicles of the Anunnaki, those who from the heaven to the earth came, that they were the ones that had ruled over. And this was after the reign of the Thracian Empire, which is little understood and is a missing part of the puzzle that many of you are now starting to look into the Tartarian Empire, and the Tartarian Empire is connected to the Thracian people. It is the oldest. And so that's another something that we've been reporting on, we've been speaking about, especially when we read from the book of Ari, which Ari means wisdom keeper. So let us look at something. We'll go ahead and start with the Emerald Tablet, and then we'll look into also some of the collected works of Enoch. But Dr. J. Vernon McGee, he wrote this: I believe that the entire universe came under this great catastrophe. What was the catastrophe? We can only suggest that there was some pre-Adamic creature that was on this earth. And it seems that all of this is connected with the fall of Lucifer, the son of the morning, who became Satan, the devil, as we know him today. I think all of this is involved here in Genesis 1, 2, but that God has not given us the details. The fact of the matter is that He has given us very, very few details in the first chapter of Genesis. I actually think that there is a lot there, especially when you do the Hebrew word study and you examine the meanings of what is being presented, and you understand the context of the larger story that is conveyed within the words that are selected by the Most High for this revelation. So I'm going to read from the chapter 6. It's the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, tablet number 6, to give you an understanding as to the division of dark and light and how the war between the sons of the morning and the sons of darkness came into play. It says, "Hark ye, O man, to the wisdom of magic, hark the knowledge of powers forgotten. Long ago in the days of the first man, warfare began between darkness and light. Men then, as now, were filled with both darkness and light. And while in some darkness held sway, in other light filled the soul. Age old in this warfare, the eternal struggle between darkness and light. Fiercely is it fought all through the ages, using strange powers, hidden to man. Of depths has there been filled with the blackness, struggling always against the light. But others there are who, filled with brightness, have ever conquered the darkness of night. Wherever ye may be in all ages and plain, surely you shall know of the battle with night. Long ages ago, the sons of morning, descending, found the world filled with night. There, in that past, began the struggle, the age old battle between darkness and light. Many of the time were so filled with darkness that only feebly flamed the light from the night. Some they were masters of darkness who sought to fill all their darkness, sought to draw others into their night. Fiercely withstood they, the masters of brightness. Fiercely fought they from the darkness of night, sought ever to tighten the fetters, the chains that bind men to the darkness of night. Used they always the dark magic brought into men by the power of darkness, magic that enshrouded man's soul with darkness, banded together as in an order. Brothers of darkness, they, through the ages, antagonists they to the children of men. Walk they always, secret and hidden, found yet not found by the children of men. Forever they walked and worked in darkness, hiding from the light in the darkness of night. Silently, secretly used they their power, enslaving and binding the soul of men. Unseen they come and unseen they go, and man in his ignorance calls them from below. Dark is the way of the dark brothers travel, dark of the darkness, not of the night. Traveling over earth, they walk through man's dreams. Power they have gained from the darkness around them, to call other dwellers from out of their plane in ways that are dark and unseen by man into man's mind. Space reached the dark brothers. Around it, they closed the veil of their night. There, through its lifetime, that soul dwells in bondage, bound by the fetters of the veil of the night. Mighty are they in the forbidden knowledge, forbidden because it is one with the night. Hark ye, O old man, and list to my warning. Be ye free from the bondage of night. Surrender not your soul to the brothers of darkness. Keep thy face ever turned towards the light. Know ye not, O man, that your sorrow only has come through the veil of the night? Amen. Heed ye my warning. Strive ever upward. Turn your soul toward the light. The brothers of darkness seek for their brothers, those who travel the pathway of light. For well know they that those who have traveled far towards the sun in their pathway of light have great and yet greater power to bind with darkness the children of light. List ye, O man, to he who comes to you, but weigh in the balance if his words be of light. For many there are who walk in dark brightness, and yet are not the children of light. Easy it is to follow their pathway, but ye, yet, O man, heed ye my warning. Light comes only to him who strives. Hard is the pathway that leads to wisdom. Hard is the pathway that leads to the light. Many shall ye find the stones in your pathway, many the mountains to climb toward the light. Yet know ye, O man, to him that overcometh free will, he be of the pathway of light. For ye know, O man, in the end that light must conquer and darkness, and night be banished from light. Listen, O man, and heed ye this wisdom. Even as darkness, so is the light. When darkness is banished and all veils are rended, out there shall flash from the darkness the light, even as exist among men the dark brothers, so there exist the brothers of light. Antagonists they of the brothers of darkness, seeking to free men from the night. Powers have they mighty and potent, knowing the law the planets obey, work they ever in harmony and order, freeing the man's soul from its bondage of night. Okay, I'm going to stop there because it it goes on and on, and it covers again the distinction between the brothers of night and the seekers of the light, and how the two orders have been at war with one another since the separation of light and darkness, which is where you find the war in heaven within the scriptures. That the division of light and darkness, this is what led to the war in heaven and to the earth becoming a deserted wasteland and an indistinguishable ruin. And so I guess I could start. I wanted to share another ancient tale, another insight into who these beings are. According to the story of Kreta Mutwa, who was an African Sangoma, and he had met with Tom Martin, I believe is his name, and also David Icke, and he had shared with them insight into what his people were taught, what they had come to know about the ancient times, the oral traditions that were passed on from generation to generation, from one mouth to another, and that he was one in a long line of these particular individuals. And his stories, he was able to write them down and share them and to preserve them. Otherwise, they would have died with him. And so at least he was able to pen them and to share them. And having read them, they are very intriguing because they give us insight into the same story that we find biblically speaking about the feathered serpent and of the enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent, and how these two peoples would clash and war against one another. When you really come to understand the story of humanity, the parable of the wheat and the tares, the story of the goat and the sheep, those that follow the right hand, the narrow way which leads to life, and those that follow the left hand path, the broad way that leads to destruction. It's the same story of light and darkness. And it covers who who the true elect are, those that would be numbered and given and hold the keepers of wisdom, the ancient traditions which bring to light and help us to understand, even in this day and age, what we are contending with in regard to the powers, the principalities, the rulers of darkness, the spiritual wickedness of this world, which is hard for people to make sense of. going to roll in just about 5 minutes.
Okay, I just had a voice cue.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for being patient. I just had to take some water because my voice keeps running out. And I'm trying to, not speak overly fast and because that just makes it worse. But we are about 5 minutes from break, so I'll go ahead and just read a little portion to give you an idea and to lead into the story. And then when we come back from break, we'll get into it deeper. And then I will also peek into the chat room and take your questions, and I'll answer or share your commentary. It says, and this is from the second book of the pre-Adamic series on the Dragon Lords, the antediluvian kings. Please forgive me, but I must share this story with you. It is one of the strangest stories that you find everywhere in Africa, in shamanic secret societies, and other places where the remnant of our ancient knowledge and wisdom are still preserved. It is that originally the earth was covered by a very thick blanket of fog or mist, that people could not actually see the sun in the sky except as a nimble of light. And they also saw the moon at night as a gentle claw of light in the sky because there was this heavy mist and the rain was always falling in a steady drizzle. There was no thunder, however. There were no storms. The world was thickly covered with great forests, great jungles, and people lived in peace on earth at that time. People were happy, and it is said at that time, we human beings did not have the power of speech, but we only made funny sounds like happy monkeys and baboons. But we did not have speech as we now have it. And in those centuries, people spoke to each other through the power of their minds. Um, just a really quick comment about that. Does it not remind you of Genesis, the flashback, where it goes back into a time when there was not yet rain and man had not yet been created to toil the soil, to work the fields? And it's intriguing that in the Sumerian mythology, it speaks about the pre Adamic peoples and how there was not yet this hyoid bone, which gave people the power to speak and to make sounds. And that also there was what was called the primitive worker, the Lulu, and that this particular being, this hominid, was much like a Bigfoot type of creature covered over with fur, and that it had not yet learned to work the fields or to plant food, and that animals had not yet been domesticated. And that it was only after what was the creation of the civilized man, which I believe is the new ancestry of modern humanity, that Elohim created man in their image, male and female created they them, and spread them out to all the different portions of the world, male and female, as couples and as different races, that the world was replenished at that time because it had once been destroyed. All right, we'll be right back and we'll go into this a little bit deeper.
As a bookstore for truth seekers, it's our goal to make ancient manuscripts which were once held captive by secretive institutions available for public consideration. In our generation, where wisdom has increased as Daniel the prophet foretold, we have access to many of the testimonies our early church brethren were persecuted for preserving. After being hidden for centuries, these manuscripts have been leaked from various sources throughout the earth, and it's our goal to gather these sources into printable form to make available for all who seek the ancient way. If you're looking to deepen your studies of the biblical narrative, find these ancient manuscripts and more at sacredwordpublishing.com. Your partnership with Sacred Word Publishing goes further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world.
When Justin and I found out we were having a little girl, we named her Eliana and started dreaming of what life would be like with her, where we would take her, what we would teach her, and of course, what we would read to her. One day we walked around a bookstore looking for books we might want for her and found nothing. So we started brainstorming what exactly we would want. Even from a young age, we wanted her to know and understand the heart of God and hidden truths that are in ancient biblical manuscripts like the Book of Enoch, and the idea of the Prophecy for Children series was born. Justin got hard to work, and praise Yah released the Prophecy for Children series. We are grateful for the support and amazing feedback from others who have been wanting the same for their children. We just found out we will be having a son, and we are excited to grow our family and to keep writing books for our children to share with our truth-seeking family. To order these books today, please check out the children's store at sacredwordpublishing.com.
Want to be a warrior or a victim? Denial is not a choice anymore. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the planet, not giving up. Revolution Radio. All right. Thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
All right, welcome back for a second hour. I just want to really quickly just tie together, because again, we do find ourselves in this day where the truth of what is going on and what has been going on is being brought forth. And what we don't realize and what a lot of people don't understand is that the rulers of darkness, the eye at the top of the Illuminati pyramid, that when you look at your currency, American currency, you see the eye detached from the pyramid, and that the eye represents these powers, the principalities, the rulers of darkness, the spiritual wickedness of this world, that Paul said we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but these are legion. And legion is what rules over the Illuminati, the human aspect of what is the pyramid, the Masonic pyramid that is below the eye. And we see constantly on all the music videos and commercials. I even seen it in the soccer games, in the Women's World Cup, that these people are flashing the 666 sign and doing the eye, the symbol, the one eye, the eye of Ra, which is the affiliation that shows their connection to these secret societies. That the musicians and sport athletes and entrepreneurs and people that hold positions of power and authority and that are considered to be stars or idols to the masses, that many of them are part of these, what are the brotherhoods, the sisterhoods, the Eastern Star organizations, the affiliations, the secret societies, which are blood oath dedicated to the winged serpent, the guardian of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And these bloodlines sitting on the thrones of the world today and in the past that have strategically married and interbred with one another in order to retain and to concentrate their power and their ability to commune with the devils and the demons, that the scriptures so clearly show and tell us that the Gentiles, they worship the devils. And it's been that way for a very, very long time. And in that show I was telling you about the Britannia, it speaks about that and it shows this. And it's clear through the scriptures, this deity Laka, which is same like Moloch, that people, like even the owl, the Bohemian owl there in the old growth forest in California, where they perform the cremation of care, the sacrifice. And they say, yes, mock ritual, whatever. But according to Paul Bonacci, there's something a lot more to the blood rituals that are taking place there. He didn't even know about Bohemian Grove. And in his journal, he wrote about it. and about how he witnessed a young child being, tossed from the helicopter to the men in black robes below, and that they would know what to do with the body. So there's something a lot more going on in Bohemian Grove than we are knowledgeable about. In the same manner that, we saw the Greg Zemansky in his interviews with Savali, and she talked about the black obsidian table beneath the Vatican and how they did this same thing as far as the blood sacrifice. And so nothing new under the sun. And this is something also that is going to be connected to the ancient aliens, and people don't realize it yet. And those that are, I guess, ignorant is the only way to say it, because they have no love of the truth. And those that believe the ancient aliens are benevolent beings and that they're in some manner here to save us, you are going to have a very rude awakening. And there's so many of these PhD, those people that are on Ancient Aliens, the series, that are being brought forth in the alternative truth community that are part of the Gaia network, that they are setting you up to believe and to buy into and to accept that these ancient aliens are our creators, when it's absolutely a lie. And I do recommend, for those that are confused on this subject, get Sons of God, Who We Are and Why We Are Here, as I explain all this in great detail, even from the perspective of the Sumerian mythologies, because there is truth, some truth exclaimed within them, but you have to have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and a mind to understand in order to make sense of it all. Otherwise, you're going to get led astray. And so be weary. All right, let us go into continuing from the testimony of Credo Mutwa, who again had received this ancient knowledge as it was passed down through his people and through the ancient bloodlines that um, had preserved this knowledge. And this goes back to very ancient times. He says, and there is another name by which these creatures are known. This name is Chittauli. Now, the word Chittauli means the dictators, the ones who tell us the law. In other words, they who tell us secretly what we are to do. Now, it is said that these Chittauli did a number of things to us when they came to this planet. What people don't understand as well is that these creatures, the Chittauli, they are reptilian in nature. Credo Mutwa calls them the crocodile people. And remember that Cain and his children, that they were seraphic in aspect. And so there's something odd about those that are here with us, and those that, as Daniel says, will try to intermingle themselves amongst the seed of men. And it is this reptilian aspect. And it also says in the scriptures that Satan and the dragon lords, that they have the ability to shapeshift, and that they can present themselves even as an angel of light. This is what Credo says about Satan. He says, I think so, yes, sir. He is the chief of the Chitauli, and like Satan, he lives in a house underground where great fires are always lighted to keep him warm, because we are told that after the great war they fought with God, they became cold in their blood, and they cannot stand freezing weather, which is why they require human blood. And also they require fire always to be kept working where they are. Now remember, the reptilians, they are cold-blooded creatures. They have to get their warmth from the sun. They cannot regulate their temperature. That's one of the aspects of, you know, the their being, that God brought this curse upon them. It is said that these creatures feed on us human beings, that they at one time challenged God himself to war because they wanted full control of the universe. And God fought a terrible battle against them, and he defeated them, injured them, and forced them to hide in cities underground. They hide in deep cavities underground because they are always feeling cold. In these cavities, we are told they are huge fires which are kept going by slaves, human zombie like slaves. And it is further said that these Zuswazi, these Mbulu, or whatever you choose to call them, are not capable of eating solid food. They either eat human blood or they eat that power, the energy that is generated when human beings on the surface of the earth are fighting and killing each other in large numbers. You know, it reminds me of the in a spiritual vision. It says that um, when when wars are going on and humans are slaughtering and killing one another, that the legions, these dark entities, that they are feeding in frenzy on the blood that is spilled, and that it's just they're just gorging themselves on the fear that is released, on the adrenaline, and it's powerful for them. They feel the fright and the madness, again, the adrenaline, the like adrenochrome that is released amongst people. All right, let me find the continuation. All right. Credo says, before human beings were created on this planet, And of course, I know it's a plane. That's another thing we're going to discuss at some time, because the reason that the whole deception of the solar system has put into place by Satan and Legion is to bring forth the idea that they are from distant worlds and that they are far more advanced than we are as humanity. And yes, they have been here for very much longer, but they are not from out there. They are from right here. Just as this says, they live in cities under the ground, that the realm of Sheol, the bottomless pit, the abysmal chasm, this is where Satan and these fallen ones, they've been confined and where they live. And it's also come out, recently that uh, not only do they have some of the craft of these beings, but that they speak about the underground rail systems that have been put into place by them, that they are able to travel from one continent to the other in very rapid fashion. Also, I'm going to tell you something that you should check out. Recently, there was a gathering put on by Terry Carter, who has been bringing out stories of ancient treasure and uh, for a very long time. But anyways, he's good friends with the Alma True Ott, who is also on Revolution Radio. I believe he comes on Thursday or Friday nights. Um, but he shared the story of this high technology and also how Joseph, the biblical Joseph, had come up using these tunnels and these chambers, that he discovered a crystal that unlocked a chamber beneath the paw of the Sphinx, and that this chamber connected to not only Utah and here in America and the Grand Canyon, but also to the Busiji Mountains in Romania, where the giant Hall of Records was recently discovered. And I did a series of shows with Peter Moon about the Busiji Mountains and the Hall of Record. So you should check that out. But anyways, Alma Truot speaks about this and covers it in a seminar that was just recently released. I think it was on the 28th that this conference took place. And so you should check it out. It's absolutely mind-blowing, the revelations that he brings forth. But it aligns with what I'm reading right here. And so let us continue. All right. Before human beings were created on this planet, there had existed a very wise race of people known as the Amanukela. These people had come from the constellation known to white people as Orion. That's, of course, what they want you to believe. But and they might have been before the war in heaven from that region of the heavens before they were cast down and cast out. But they cannot access that anymore. And they had inhabited our earth for thousands and thousands of years, which is, again, the truth as I've been sharing it in my work. And that before they had left our earth to return once more to the sacred spider constellation, they made a great evacuation under the earth. beneath the Rowensuri Mountains, the mountains of the moon. And deep in the bowels of Mother Earth, the Manukaela built a city of copper buildings, a city with a wall of silver all around it, a city built at the huge mountain of pure crystal, the mountain of knowledge, the mountain from which all knowledge on earth comes, and a mountain to which all knowledge on earth ultimately returns. No matter where you go in Africa, no matter how deep into the interior of the dark continent you tread, you will find very ancient stories which are incredibly similar. You will find African tribes and races who will tell you that they are descendants from gods who came out of the skies thousands of years ago. Some, however, say that these gods came to them from the sea in magical boats made out of reeds or wood or copper or even gold. In some cases, these gods and goddesses are described as beautiful human beings whose skins were either bright blue or green or even silver. But most of the time, you will find it being said that these great gods, especially the ones that came out of the sky, were non human, scaly creatures which lived most of the time in mud or in water. It reminds me of the blue skinned people in the Hindu mythology. But listen closely here. Creatures of an extremely frightening and hideously ugly appearance. Some say that these creatures were like crocodiles, with crocodile like teeth and jaws, but with very large round heads. Some say that these creatures are very tall, beings with snake like heads, set on long, thin necks, very long arms, and very long legs. There are those that tell us that these gods who came from the skies traveled through the land in magical boats made of bright metal, silver, copper, or gold. Boats which had the ability to sail over water or even to fly through the sky like birds. Throughout Africa, we are told that these mysterious beings taught human beings many things. They taught human beings how to have laws, the knowledge of herbal medicine, the knowledge of arts, and knowledge of the mysteries of creation and the cosmos as a whole. We are told that some of these gods had the ability to change their shapes at will. They had the ability to assume the shape and the appearance of any creature that there is on earth whenever they had good reason to do so. A sky god could even turn itself into a rhinoceros, an elephant, or even a stork. A sky god could even turn itself into a rock or even a tree. In Africa, these mysterious gods are known by various names. In West Africa, in the land of Bumbada, the Bumbada people, these amphibian or reptilian sky gods are known as the Ziswezi. The word Ziswezi means the swimmers or the divers or the gliders. It was said that these sky gods could dive from above the clouds down to the top of a mountain whenever they felt like it. They could also take deep dives into the bottom of the ocean and from there fetch magical objects. and then bring them to the shore, placing them at the feet of the astonished black people. In the land of the Dogon people, we find the famous Nomo, a race of reptilian or amphibian beings who were said to have come from the Sirius star to give knowledge and religion to the black people of Dogon. All right, I'm going to take a sip of water. I'll be right back. All right, I'll tell this ancient tale and then I'll check the chat room. One is told that when the Nomo arrived from the sky in their fantastic sky ships, there were several of them, 13 or 14 of them, and they created a lake around their skyship, and every morning they used to swim from their skyship to the shores of the lake and there preach to the people who assembled in large numbers around the lake. It is said that before the, the Nomo departed, returning with a great noise back to their home star, they first chose one of their number, killed it, and cut its body up into little pieces, and then gave these pieces to the assembled people to eat in the first sacrificial ritual of its kind on the earth. When the people had eaten the sacred flesh of the star creature, its blood mixed with water, the Nomo took the lower jaw of their creature, and by some incredible fact of magic, brought the whole of it to life again. We are told that this is the way that the Nomo taught our people, that there is no death, and that behind every death there shall be a resurrection. In the Americas and South and Central America, mostly the feathered serpent is called Quetzalcoatl. And amongst my people, the Zulus, we find belief in a serpent called Yandalandalo. The Yandalandalo is said to be a huge mamba or a huge python whose neck is covered in grayish blue feathers, like the feathers of a blue crane. And at the top of the serpent's head grow 3 feathers, one green, one red, one white, which look like huge ostrich tail feathers. But when the Chitauri arrived in Africa, they told our people that they were gods and that they were going to give us human beings great gifts on one condition. We had to worship them and accept them as our creators. Some told our people that they were our elder brothers and that this earth had produced them generations ago. And they said they had come back to the green womb of their mother and that they were going to make us into gods. It is said, sir, that the Umbaba ran away from an eastern land during a power struggle with one of his sons, and he took refuge in Central Africa, where he hides in a cave deep underground. And it is an amazing thing, sir. It is said that under the mountains of the moon in Zaire is this great city of copper, of many thousands of shining buildings. There dwells the god Umbaba, or Jabulon, and this god is waiting for the day when the surface of the earth will be cleared of human beings so that he and his children, the Chitauli, can come out and enjoy the heat of the sun. Jabulon, sir, is a very strange god. He's supposed to be the leader of the Chittauli. He is a god, to my great surprise, which I find certain groups of white people especially worshiping. We have known about Jabulon for many, many centuries, we black people. But I am surprised that there are white people who worship this god. And these people amongst them are people who many have blamed for all the things that have happened on this earth, namely the Freemason. The Freemason people. We believe that Jabulon is the leader of the Chittauli. He is the old one, and one of his names in the African language, sir, is Un Baba Samahonga. The Lord King, the great father with the terrible eyes. Because we believe that Jabulon has got one eye, which, if he opens it, you die. If he looks at you. Martin says to Credo, I would like to go back to the Copper City for a moment. It would seem that this Jabulon would be the equivalent of what we in the West call Satan. Would you say that? Credo. I think so. Yes, sir. He is the chief of the Chitauli. And like Satan, he lives in a house underground where great fires are always lighted to keep him warm. Because we are told that after the Great War, they fought with God. They became cold in their blood and they cannot stand freezing weather, which is why they require human blood. And also, they require fire always to be kept working where they are. All right. So that's what I wanted to cover about Credo's uh, his knowledge of these particular beings and how this ancient knowledge has been kept for very, very long time. There's more, and I'll share some of that as well. But let me peek at the chat. For those that are new again to this information, especially new to this channel, hello, Ella. Hello. She says, hello, talks. I am new to your channel. I prayed for Yah, fill the gaps in my faith, and I found you in an interview with Rob Skiba. May Yah bless you for your work. Ordered one of your books already. Well, thank you, Elo. And I do believe that we're going to be able to do exactly that for you. Fill in the blanks. And I'm honored that you would open yourself to the possibilities of those things which we are speaking about. And George, I just want to thank you, brother, again for your kindness and always supporting us. We appreciate you. And I actually am going to be writing back to you and just to share some thoughts. Clark says, coincides with so many other texts. And yes, brother, I absolutely agree. It does. And that's the thing is when we, hello, KNJ, and Brick, Hebrew Hawaiian, Tammy George, we love, appreciate all of you. Um, but yes, when you have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and a mind to understand, you see truth as it is scattered all throughout all these various esoteric and very odd sources. This is an African Sangoma, a medicine man, who has no knowledge of the scriptures in the way that I've read and shared them. But yet again, especially when he speaks about the ancient times when the earth was watered by a mist, this is exactly what the scriptures tell us. Mundo geodesico y structure demos. Hello, Zen from Chile. Hello, friend. And thank you for sharing with us. He says, I followed your work like 10 years. It's my great honor. Thank you for having done so. I hope that it has blessed your life and that it has brought you discernment. There's a lot of very interesting things to learn. And that's the other thing, I want to and have. Pamela Evans says, Shalom, everybody. God bless you, Zen. Uh, thank all of you again. And I want to give people the truth because I believe that, that's the least that we and I can do is to give you what I have learned, what I have seen, what I have read, and share it with you in a manner that you are able to study it for yourselves and come to discernment for yourself. I'm not trying to, I tell everybody to doubt everything that I say and to study and open your minds to new possibility and see how it turns out for you. Welcome, Seek First and Sue Payton. Ella says that all this new knowledge has made me so excited about reading the Bible. Your Thracian book of Adam and Eve has solidified my faith in Yah. Wow, that's awesome. I'm so excited to hear that. It is a great blessing that we are able to, bring and help people in their discernment and to bring you to understand who the true Godhead is and that you can have your faith encouraged and built up is awesome. Ye are Elohim says, Zen was the first person to show me it was all right to dig into the original meanings of the words like 2008-ish. Whoa, yes, brother, you have been a long time listener. It was 2006, 2007 that I began my radio broadcasting career. So you have been on board since the beginning. I appreciate you. And I can tell by your name, that you understand the truth of scriptures too, that we are revealed to be part of the pre-existing Godhead, that we pre-existed with the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, that they knew us before the foundations of the world were even laid. Hello, Marie Brazier. A warm hug and shout out to you, dear sister, for all that you do for the Ugandan orphanages and for all the um, for all that you do for all those that are seeking and needing. And so, yes, we are quickly coming to the end of the show, and I'm going to share again just a little bit more. Just want to again, just want to give a shout out to those of you that are in the chat, and thank you for. Um, George says, "Then I told you you were changing the world when I met you at the conference." Thank you, George. I appreciate you, brother. You are as well, my friend. Shielded Sugar says, "We love you, Zen." I love all of you as well. It's so awesome for us to have this congregation, this platform to fellowship and to share with one another. Hello, Eric Monroe, and thank you also for joining us. Thank you, Sue. I appreciate you as well. Let me share just a little bit more from this perspective, because this I think is an important part. It says, our readers are aware of the existence of the shape-shifting reptilian extraterrestrials, and what I would like to discuss with you concerns the specifics of their presence, their leadership, their agenda, and their methods of operation at this time. So the first question I would like to ask you is, can you confirm that shape-shifting reptilian extraterrestrials do in fact exist on our planet at this time? And if they do, if you can confirm this, will you please be specific about them? Where do they come from? And Credo says this: the people of Rwanda, the Hutu people, as well as the Watusi people state, and they are not the only people in Africa who state this, that their very oldest ancestors were a race of beings whom they called the Emmanuela, which means the Lords who have come. And some tribes in West Africa, such as a Bambara people, also say the same thing. They say that they came from the sky many, many generations ago, a race of highly advanced and fearsome creatures which look like men, and they call themselves the Ziswezi. The word Ziswezi means the Deval or glidal creatures that can glide down from the sky or glide through water. Everybody, sir, has heard about the Dogon people in Western Africa who all say that they were given culture by the Nomo beings, but they are not alone. The Dogon people are but one of many, many peoples in Africa who claim that their tribe or their king were first founded by the supernatural race of creatures that came from the sky. The Zulu people, who are famous as a warrior people, the people to whom King Shaka Zulu of the last century belonged. When you ask a South African white anthropologist what the name of Zulu means, he will say it means the sky. Laughter. And therefore the Zulu call themselves people of the sky. But that, sir, is nonsense. In the Zulu language, our name for the sky, the blue sky, is Sibaka Baka. Our name for interplanetary space, however, is Zulu, and the Wenda Zulu, which means the interplanetary space, the dark sky that you see with stars in it every night. Also has to do with traveling, sir. The Zulu word for traveling at random like a nomad or a gypsy is Izula. Now you can see that the Zulu people in South Africa were aware of the fact that you can travel through space, not through the sky like a bird, but you can travel through space. And the Zulus claim that many, many thousands of years ago, there arrived out of the skies a race of people who were like lizards, people who could change shape at will, and people who married their daughters to a walking extraterrestrial and produced a powerful race of kings and tribal chiefs. There are hundreds of fairy tales, sir, in which a lizard female assumes the identity of a human princess and poses as her and gets married to a Zulu prince. Every school child in South Africa, sir, knows about the story of a princess called Coemban Kansini was to have married a handsome prince called Kakakaka, a name which means the enlightened one. Now, one day while Coemba Kansini was gathering firewood in the bush, she met a creature called an Imbulu. And this Imbulu was a lizard which has the body and the limbs of a human being, but with a long tail. And this lizard spoke to Princess Coemba Kansini. Oh, how beautiful you are, girl. I wish I could be like you. I wish I could look like you. Can I come close to you? Said the Mbulu lizard woman to the princess. And the princess said, yes, you can. And as the lizard, which was a taller one, came close to the girl, she spat into the girl's eyes and she began to change. That is, the lizard suddenly changed into a human shape. And the lizard began to look more and more and more and more like the girl, with the exception of her long pointed tail. And then, with her sudden burst of violence, the lizard woman sealed the princess in room, moved all of her bangles and her beads and her wedding skirt off of her, and she put them on. And thus the lizard became the princess. Now, there were two identical women in the bush, the shape-shifting lizard woman and the original woman. And the lizard woman said to the original woman, now you are my slave. Now you are going to accompany me to the marriage. I will be you and you will be my slave. Come on. She took a stick and started beating up the poor princess. And then she went accompanied by other girls who were bridesmaids. According to Zulu custom, and she arrived at Prince Kakaka's village. But before they reached the village, she had to do something about her tail. That is, the shape-shifting woman had somehow to hide the tail. And so she forced the princess to weave a net out of fiber, and she tucked the tail in and she tied it tight to herself. She now looked like a Zulu woman with attractive and very big buttocks when seen from the outside. And then when she arrived and became the wife of the prince, a strange thing started to happen in the village. All of the milk started disappearing because each night the shape-shifting princess, the false princess, used to release her tail, which used to suck in all of the sour milk through a hole at the tip of the tail. And the mother-in-law said, what is this? Why is the milk disappearing? Then she said, no, I see. There is an Mbulu amongst us. The mother-in-law, who was a clever old lady, said, a hole must be dug in the front of the village, and it must be filled with milk. And this was done, and then all of the girls who had come with the false princess were told to jump over this hole. One after the other, they jumped, and when the shapeshifter was forced at spear point to jump as well, as she jumped, her long tail burst out of the net under her skirt and started slurping the milk through the hole. And the warriors killed the shapeshifter, and thus the real princess, Coen Bancansini, became the wife of the king of King Kakaka. Now, sir, this story has got many versions in it. Throughout South Africa, amongst many tribes, you'll find stories of these amazing creatures who are capable of changing from reptile to human being and from reptile to any other animal of their choice. And these creatures, sir, do really exist. No matter where you go throughout southern, eastern, western, and central Africa, you'll find that the description of these creatures is the same. Even amongst tribes which never throughout their long history had contact with each other at all. So there are such creatures. Where they come from, I will never claim to know, but they are associated with certain stars in the sky. And one of these stars is a large group of stars which is part of the Milky Way, which our people call Ingiyav, which means the great serpent. And there is a red star, reddish star, near the tip of this huge rim of stars, which our people call Insone Nakayamba. Now, this star called Insone Nakayamba, I managed to find its English name. It is the star called Alpha Centauri. Okay, we're going to have to stop it there. There's so much. I'll just read this last part. It is said that these creatures feed on us human beings, that they at one time challenged God himself to war because they wanted full control of the universe. And God fought a terrible battle against them. And he defeated them, injured them, and forced them to hide in cities underground. This whole, if you're interested and you want this whole testimony, it's a lot of information, and it is found in my book, The Dragon Lords. And again, it helps people to understand, to make sense of what we are truly contending with. And as I said, a lot of people are going to accept these beings as gods, and that they are going to accept that they created us. But that is far from the truth. And remember, you will always find connected with these ancient deities who are fallen angelic beings the consumption of blood and cannibalism, which should be an indication to you that they are evil. Because that is also said in the scriptures of those who were of the children of Cain, that they were the assassins of the prophets, that they, Micah, read it for yourself, Micah chapter 3, verses 1 through 5. And you'll find this is exactly what it says, that they cut the flesh as for a pot, and that they consumed human people in the same manner that these ancient serpent deities did, the feathered serpent. And again, we're coming to the time, we're going to see it quickly now that we are at disclosure, that they're going to declare that they are our gods and our creators. Don't fall for the deception. Don't bend the knee. Don't take the mark of the beast. Have a love of the truth, because it is that love of the truth that will expose this strong delusion. All right, everybody. Again, I love all of you. I thank you for joining us this evening. It's my great honor to be able to be here to speak with you. And also, I know I cover a lot of strange things, but when you look into it, you'll find it is the truth. Be blessed all. Good night.